Alright, what's up everyone? We are in Jedi Survivor again, this time with the 5080. We had a request, just a comment that someone had, and they would like to have seen this. I'm trying to do this real quick before we jump into the winner of our poll, which was the 5070 and the 5070 Ti this week, so it'll be a mix of the two. And if you want to participate in those polls, just be sure to subscribe and click the notification. Those go out every Sunday at 10 a.m. and run for 24 hours. So be sure to participate in that democratic process so you can kind of control what direction the channel takes. So it's kind of, up to the community to see what kind of cards we test. So there'll be a mix of 4 each time, and once one wins, we drop it out of the rotation for 1 week, and then we'll put it back. All right, so we are in Star Wars Survivor, so Jedi Survivor rather, and yeah, we're just going to take a look at this card here. We are at the lowest preset right now. It's a little glitchy. We're at the lowest preset, and no ray tracing, no upscaling, nothing like that has been turned on. It kind of forces you to look at this mountain, so once I do that, it'll let me keep going. All right, thank you. All right, so we're at 88 FPS here, and with a PCL of 46, 47, 48, so right at 50, which is good. That's gonna be more relevant when we turn on the frame generation, but right now, performing quite nicely. Looks pretty good even at low. This game looks quite nice to me. All right, so let's just jump over to visuals and let's kick on the next level, which is medium. And as you can see here, we are at 4K, full screen, and we have no ray tracing, no upscaling, nothing like that, and no frame generation as well. So right now, that drops us down to 79, 88 FPS, so not a huge hit. A lot of these settings don't have like a lot of distance between them visually, and that's just how the game was kind of designed, because again, even at low, it looks quite nice still. Some games just look like putty whenever they're on low settings, but this is not one of them. This actually looks quite nice on low. So even if your card can only run it at low, it's still going to look fine. All right, so with that out of the way, let's just keep on running over here. I've kind of got my path set up. I've done this test on quite a few other cards now, so this is just one that I haven't done yet. But yeah, let's just go around here and check out the next preset, which would be high. And then I believe after that is epic, and then we'll get into the fun stuff. We'll get into the DLSS and all that kind of thing. All right, so let's just kick that over to high. Again, that switches everything to high. And let's just keep running through the test. Not a big drop off at all. Still 77. Right, hang out right there at that 80 FPS mark. And as you can see, our PCL is still, in the 50s. So it's a little bit of a hit just because it's a little bit more demanding, but for what it's worth, it's negligible. So I am on a mouse right now. So if you're on a keyboard and mouse, you might feel a little bit more latency than if you were on a controller. But either of those is fine for a PCL of 50, around 50. That's no big deal at all. I may switch over to a controller here in a minute just to get another idea of what it feels like. But yeah, I mean, this game looks really good at these settings. And again, we're not using any DLSS at all, so it's only going to get better. All right, so let's just keep on going, go up to Epic, and then we'll kick on some other stuff here. All right, so there is Epic settings, and yeah, just make sure everything looks good. Everything looks like it took well, so that's fine. All right, and that's going to drop us down to 68. So that's the biggest drop off so far, is from high to Epic. The low, medium, and high kind of hovered around 80, but this looks like it got a little bit more of a hit, and our VRAM creeped up to 13.1. It was hovering kind of around high 11s for a while there until we hit this preset. And just because we have a little bit of an FPS drop, our PCL did go up slightly to around 60 milliseconds. And once we kick on DLSS, all that stuff is going to calm back down. So right now, this is just the absolute, probably the hardest it is for the card to run, because we're not upscaling, we're not using frame generation, we're not using anything that traditionally would help the GPU out, and we're running it at full native 4K. So let's just keep on running and see what we can do with a little bit of DLSS here. So we're just going to kick it on. Let's come down here. No ray tracing yet. We'll do that in a little while. So we're going to kick on this upscaler here, and we're going to go to that quality preset here. So it's going to turn on quality DLSS, and as you can see on Epic settings, we're at 134 FPS here, and our PCL went down dramatically. So it went down to 30 FPS-ish. And that's just because we have so many more frames to take input per second. So that's kind of how those correlate. The more frames you get, the better your response time is going to be. Unless they're generated frames or fake frames, they have to be rendered frames, not generated frames. So just going to keep running up through here, and we're going to try to go through all of the DLSS settings and then try out some frame generation, see how that looks. But all in all, this game is running quite nicely in this area. And I picked this area because it is an area that has a lot of diversity. You got water, you got enclosed spaces and semi-enclosed spaces, especially at the beginning is more closed off. So you kind of can see how environmentally different it is, but unlike Kobo, it's not broken. I don't like to test in areas that have fundamental issues within the code itself. I don't mind testing in areas that have hard to run assets, but aren't hard to run simply because they're not fixed, that there's bugs and stuff wrong with them. I don't think that's a great way to test, but if the outcry is big enough, I will test in Kobo, because a lot of people have been asking me that. But just for those who want to know, it's still very buggy and still very broken. So, in case you're wondering, no matter what card I throw at Kobo, it still has just the craziest frame time graph. Nothing's flat about it. It's so glitchy and janky. But yeah, let's just come out here again. I love that shift from the bright light down to something more visible. Such a nice touch. All right, so let's just keep going with the next level of DLSS here. I'm going to drop over to the balance setting, if I can climb up to it. There we go. Oh, need to go this way. All right, so this would be balanced DLSS, and we got a little bit more FPS here. I am at my refresh rate for my monitor, so I'm perfectly happy with this. My monitor is 144. This is 160. It looks great. This is doing fine, and I could probably just guess that almost any setting you choose for this card will be fine on this title, at least in this area. This area is not glitchy. It runs fine, so it's a nice area to test in. All right, so let's just keep going. All right, we're just going to head over here and go through this song and dance one more time. Come down here, go to Performance DLSS, and we are in the 180s. So this is Performance DLSS, and on 4K resolution, this is upscaling from 1080p, so it's still nice and sharp. Really, on 4K, you can go way down. You can use Performance without really losing much visual clarity, if at all. I mean, I'm sure if I took screenshots and zoomed in at 10x and compared the two, you could do all that stuff. But just playing the game, no visual difference to me at all with performance versus balance versus quality, other than it just, you get more frames. So quality DLSS really does look fantastic. And this is not even, this doesn't have the ability to override. So this is still DLSS 3. So, it can only be better if they ever update it. But yeah, I mean, it looks really, really, really good. All right, so let's just keep going, and we'll check out the next level of, let's just keep going, get it all done here. Let's see what Ultra Performance looks like. It's probably going to crack 200. Yeah, that's nice. Cracks 200. Definitely got some visual anomalies, though. The water has like this scan line effect to it. I'm not sure if it's coming through on the YouTube video, but if you look kind of at the water next to Cal's left, it would be his left elbow. That water has like these lines like this through it. So it's definitely starting to break down whenever you jump to that high performance. It's a really low resolution. I believe it's like 720, trying to upscale 720 all the way to 4K. You're going to start to just get some visual anomalies that don't look great. So I don't like to really go all the way down to ultra performance unless I just really need to. And I mean, you're rocking 200 and something FPS here. You don't need ultra performance or anything like that. Okay, I did restart just to make sure that we're, keeping things nice and clean and the cache cleared out and all that kind of stuff. So this is native resolution, so no upscaling with frame generation turned on. And I believe this gives us, maybe 30 more FPS than we had before on the original native run through. So we're just going to run through all this again and switch back to some different DLSS settings with this frame generation turned on and just see where we're at. So right now we're at 95 FPS. And once I kind of have to look at this mountain, they always make me look at this mountain. All right, yep, there's the mountain. Once we do this, then I'm going to kick on the first level of DLSS, which would be quality. So we're going to go back to quality and let's see what quality looks like with frame generation. So this again is no ray tracing yet. We're going to enable that toward the end, but so frame gen is on. And I just wanted to make it the menu gets a little weird when frame gen is on. All right, so just going to make sure that we have everything how we want it here, and we're going to turn on the quality upscaler, and then let's see what that looks like. All right, so that gives us 156 FPS with a PCL of 34, around mid 30s. So this feels really nice. This would be an awesome way to play it because you're getting a nice fluid experience, and since that base frame rate is so so good, even the frame generation doesn't really hurt the response at all. It's just kind of bonus frames without having to really give up anything, so that's kind of nice. I love frame generation whenever you have a nice high frame rate to begin with, especially in more fast action titles. This wouldn't really be one that I would necessarily worry too much about, having like, gotta have 75 FPS before I turn on frame gen. But, if you're in the 50s and you turn on frame gen on a game like this, that's okay. I mean, I think it's fine even at 40s, depending on what you can kind of tolerate. But yeah, I mean, this looks really good, and frame generation is making it just a sweet experience. I mean, 165 FPS on quality DLSS at 4K, not too much to complain about. The water looks a lot better on quality. You're not getting those weird scan line effects in there or anything like that, so no anomalies at quality. It looks really good. Let's just jump over to balance though and run through that and get all the testing done as much as we can at least. And hopefully, people can get something out of this. And if you do get something out of this, please consider subscribing. That would help me out a lot, especially going back and watching all of my other stuff. I've got about close to 60 videos. I can't remember the last time I looked, but it's getting up there. So anything you want to go back and take a look at, I've got playlists set up for all the different cards. Subscribing helps, as well as just the watch time. If you give me your time, that would be phenomenal. Help me get the channel to grow bigger and bigger. All right, so right now on balanced DLSS, I mean, there's absolutely no complaints about this card, in my opinion, on this title. You're at 180 FPS, basically, with a PCL of 29 milliseconds. I can't really ask for much more. Balanced DLSS still looks really dang good. So yeah, I'm just going to keep going with the rest of the test now and just kind of get through ray tracing. Let's see what that does. That's definitely going to drop us down a little bit, but I think it's going to be okay since we're able to get frames that are just this high, especially with and without frame generation. Quite nice. All right, so let's just keep going to performance. So this is performance DLSS with frame generation turned on, and this looks really good. And now frame generation again does not have an override available. It's not supported through the NVIDIA app, so this is just DLSS 3 at the moment. If they do update that, it'll just be even better, but for right now we are still on DLSS 3. This game's about 2 years old, 2 to 3 years old, and it's probably just running off of the engine that the Fallen Order was running off of, so that kind of makes sense that they just left it on DLSS 3. It's still quite good. Plenty for this card, no big deal at all. So we're well over 200 FPS here with frame gen and performance DLSS. Let's go to ultra performance. Although I don't recommend ultra performance, I don't think you need it. But just to make everything kind of a nice, good across the board test. Let's check out ultra performance. And again, there's those scan lines. I'm not sure if it's coming through again, but kind of the water right above Cal's head. It's just got these like weird lines all through it. Kind of looks like an old CRT TV. And you got a significant amount of blurring on textures before you approach them. So anything in the distance is like way blurrier than it was on any of the other DLSS settings. But, you know, again, I don't think you need this. I don't think you need 236 FPS for this title, but it's there if you want it. Okay, so let's just jump back over to ray tracing and run through that test as well. So I'm going to come back, go to visuals here. We're going to leave it on Epic because it ran perfectly fine on Epic. We're going to go back to native. So we're going to turn off all of our DLSS. We're not going to run any frame generation. And we're going to turn on ray tracing. So this is ray tracing, native, no frame generation. We're going to run through this. All right. So that dropped us from about 80-ish originally to around 60. So still fine, you know, still perfectly acceptable. You could frame generate from this even, and it would be a good experience. You don't even need DLSS, especially in this area. Now in other parts, you might need to give yourself a little bit of headroom. So I would recommend just kicking it over to quality DLSS, and then that way you'd have a good experience across the whole game. Wouldn't have to like mess with your settings all the time and that kind of thing. But ray tracing looks good on this title. It's not exactly like a showpiece by any means, but you can kind of see it here and there. I'm going to get to a point where you can see it over here. It's this light from this plant, this little like force area. It kind of just like gives Cal like a little bit of a glow on him. All right, sorry about the cut there. I had to go deal with my dog barking, so I'm back now. And yeah, so you just kind of see this like little bit of a glow on Cal from the water. You know, so you do see that ray tracing here and there throughout the game. It's definitely not something like Cyberpunk that has this dramatic difference, but it's still cool to see and cool to have. So you can do native with ray tracing on this card, and as you can see, we're in the 60s, and you can frame gen from that. But instead of doing that, you know, as we can see here, we got some more settings to have to go through here. So we're just going to kick on quality DLSS here, no frame gen, and we're going to have that ray tracing turned on now. So we are over 100 FPS. It looks phenomenal, perfectly good image. You know, none of that flickering or none of that stuff that we saw on Ultra Performance, which, to be fair, Ultra Performance is quite an upscale. You're starting with a 720 base resolution. But on this one, you know, you're at a 1440 going up to 4K. It's fine. So yeah, for the most part, you know, this is a perfectly good running title, and we're just going to keep going through the rest of these tests just to see what, you know, what all it kind of, how it reacts to different settings. And you can kind of like watch this and get an idea of how you might want to run it. So that gives us about 10 more FPS, about ish. The going from quality to balanced isn't as big as going from like native to quality, or from quality to performance, or balance to performance rather. It's a little bit, it just kind of gives you that little bit of help if quality's not quite doing it. Balance is a good option, but you know, you don't even need it in this. But you know, let's just keep on going, and let's see what performance does. Performance would be a pretty good way to do this if you really just wanted like a crazy amount of frames for some reason. You know, again, this is not a game that you necessarily need 134 FPS, but if you're trying to max out a monitor, or like just really sensitive to lower frame rates, then, you know, here you go. This is a decent setting. All right, so 150 FPS with ray tracing on at 4K. This is performance DLSS and no frame generation. So let's just keep on going through this and see what the next level, which is ultra performance, gets us. And we're just gonna, after that, turn on like everything and just try to see what frame generation does for us whenever we are on ray tracing with DLSS and all that stuff. So 170 FPS here with your ultra performance turned on, so upscaling from 720p all the way up to 4K. Considering that it's such an upscale, it does look quite good. There's the scan lines in the water that you get. Not the best looking thing, but again, Not a surprise. This is, again, a huge upscale. All right, so let's just go through the rest of the settings now that we have kind of covered all that. And this is kind of like where the fun stuff begins. So you're on Epic settings and you have your ray tracing turned on. And let's go back to your native resolution. So there's just 4K. So this would be 4K, native, no upscaling, ray tracing on, and frame generation on. That's quite a mouthful, but this gets you right around 100 FPS, and your PCL is about 44 milliseconds. So nice and responsive still. It feels really good. You want that one-to-one movement from your mouse to what you see on the screen. And I can tell you, unless I just get like crazy wild like that, make everybody sick, I don't feel any latency at all. And if you're on a controller, you're never going to notice a thing. So it feels really good. There's no issues at all with running it like this. But I do recommend, again, that quality setting is just kind of like a good baseline for almost every game, in my opinion, because visually it looks no different. I mean, it looks sometimes even better because you get that little bit of extra sharpening in there. So there's very few reasons to not use DLSS quality for most games. So I'm going to kick on quality. Again, this is ray tracing being left on, Epic settings, frame generation is on, and we are upscaling from to a quality. So we're upscaling from 1440 to 4K. So 135 FPS, 132 FPS. Very good experience. Water looks good. Everything looks nice. There's no weird artifacts or issues at all. Everything just looks very, very crisp and clean, and it's running at 140 FPS. And you have a PCL of 30-ish, 34-ish FPS, or 34 milliseconds. And yeah, this is probably how I would more than likely play it, because I do like a little ray tracing in my titles if I can swing it. And, the frame generation in this particular instance isn't fixing anything. It's just making a really good situation even better. So in my opinion, there's no reason not to use frame generation. And quality DLSS looks like native, and you just get better performance. So this is probably how I would run it. But let's just keep going through the rest of the different settings and get a nice across the board test with the rest of the DLSS presets with all these other things toggled on. And we're just going to go through the rest of it here. Again, the menu can kind of look a little glitchy when you got frame generation turned on, but that's totally normal. All right, so this is balanced DLSS frame generation. So the in-between of performance and quality, it's more quality than it is performance. It's closer to that as far as like visually, but if you just want to get a little bit more help, you can use balanced. But again, I don't even think you need quality in most cases in this game, but there's no reason not to use it. It still looks good. So this is balanced though, and as you can see, everything looks quite nice. And we're just going to go to performance and then ultra performance just to make it across the board. And then I'll kind of reflect on what we found here. So everything's turned on. Let's just go to performance. Right now that we are on performance, let's just run around a good bit and see what we can expect. So 180 FPS with ray tracing at 4K. Your water still looks good. No weird scan line issues or anything like that. The slightest bit of not so detailed distant objects, but that's not distracting at all. It almost has like a depth of field effect, so you could kind of be tricked into thinking that's what it was. Now some of these little like butterfly looking things, they kind of flicker in and out of existence. That's one thing that I have noticed on performance, but for the most part it looks fine. Alright, so let's just keep going to ultra performance, and again we're going to get our nice scan line effect back in our water, but that's okay. We're just going to make sure that we go through everything here, and there's our scan lines. Looks like an old CRT TV. Very nostalgic. Alright, so 204, 205 FPS. Looks like we are around 27 milliseconds of latency, so I mean this is like extremely responsive with mouse and keyboard. And any of these settings, any of them at all, I've played it with a controller. If you're on a controller, you're not going to notice any latency whatsoever. I mean, you're just not. the PCL, I can just tell you by the reporting that it's going to feel fine. I haven't grabbed the controller in this test, but I have plenty of times played this game with a controller, and it feels perfectly fine. You're not going to notice anything. All right, so with that said, that's kind of the whole gamut of all the different, kind of big settings we can go through. Of course, I don't really focus on this on my channel, but you can tweak all this stuff in here to your liking. I try not to make, that would be like a 3-hour long video. I try not to get that crazy, but this is just kind of like a good overview. I would leave it on quality DLSS. I would have frame generation on, and I would use ray tracing because there's just no reason not to. Everything performs super well, looks great, and your PCL is in the 30s. So yeah, this is exactly how I would play it. It looks fantastic, very responsive. We'll do a couple little lightsaber moves here just to kind of get the ball rolling. See some of that ray tracing on Cal from the lightsaber. That's pretty cool. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. Again, thank you for watching. If you really like this channel, please subscribe. Please participate in the Sunday poll to tell me which GPU to use for the next week. And that will wrap this video up. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the very next one. Bye-bye.